Okay.
So, Wes, where do we begin? So thanks everyone for joining. Anyway, hello, Menina. So this reverse engineering your calendar thing, I think it's interesting and it's really evolved. Hey. So it's kind of evolved from our point of view as a company. The way that we structure the year has really evolved over the last few years, and so we've learned an awful lot from the amount of data we have, and we've actually sort of really developed a team to look at how we launch products and when we launch products. And so what you will sort of see, and you know, I think most of you were around actually when we had programs like Shift Shop, which was like launch. It was like an autumn program, I think, and it wasn't great. It wasn't the best launch because we launched at the wrong time of year according to our data. So what you're seeing and the things we've kind of hinted at, we're bringing out next year in some other calls, and I think you may have seen stuff that we've talked about at Super Weekends and other things like that, is that we have got these programs for 2022 that hopefully the cadence of the releases and the type or style of program that we have means that it fits in with how coaches are able to get the best from their people in terms of results, but also in terms of how the business works and the kind of programs people might be looking for at different points in the year. And so the best example, sorry guys, Menina,
can I ask a question before I forget this question? Sorry everyone. So quite often recently what's happened, I think, if I remember right, this with dates, there's been new program release and then the previous one comes available for but very close to the new release date of the next program. I think remember, and Shift Shop came, for example. I think it was another program that launched literally same time. And I don't know whether that really helps because it means that you get something new anyway without paying.
I suppose the people who are not into, so the space between the space from a program launching in VIP to the program becoming available is about 6 months, but it sometimes changes, and there's sometimes reasons why they make it shorter. It tends not to be longer, but but that does mean that, of course, because of roughly the time of year that we launch programs, that you end up 6 months in, like hitting that same milestone. And there's no easy way to solve for that in some respects, because if you think about it, we could shorten the time period to 5 months or 4 months, but that gives you less opportunity to have that program, because of course once you get, if you're selling to let's say this customer and it's only on a 4-month window in VIP, by the time you've got 2 months in, they're now asking you, well, hang on a minute, why don't I just wait 2 months and I don't have to pay you the extra? So there's actually no way to win, and if you do it longer, then it's super long, and it kind of becomes out of fashion, as it were. You've moved on as coaches as well, so it's kind of harder to make it work. So they have tried to figure out like the way to make those kind of things work to hit. They do hit different parts of the year, but you will always get that period just because of the nature of the cadence of the stuff the stuff we offer, and just the fact that it's mostly around 6 months. But so sorry, it's one of those ones that we'll never win. But I think it does also fit with how people, some people will never want to purchase a VIP, and so they'll just be super happy, but it's a really great way to re-engage them. And some people will, the VIP program of that period will be right up their street and it'll be perfect. But and if it's not, then they've already got the one that's coming into the library, for instance. So, but you hope, of course, that most people have already got access to that program and done it already. So it becomes less of an issue. So anyway, as I was saying, and feel free to interrupt or wave or whatever. I've got you on a sort of gallery so I can see. What you see is job one, to all of our data, shows that job one is the perfect type of program to go into the new year. It's short, it's hard but not hard. It's very accessible, but it can be hard or it can be really accessible. The style of trainer, all of those different things are taken into account. And also we haven't added lots of accessories or anything like that, because of course there's like shipping things around this time of year as well. So you don't want to add lots of sort of complications. So all of those things make it a much easier program to launch into the new year, and hopefully gives you a really strong start to the year. And that's what we're really after, is obviously for you to all first have that window in December, but then be able to have an opportunity in January to really fly and start to make regulars, almost, you know, whether it's monthly, if that's how you're going to run your challenge groups, with these sort of monthly challenge groups, and really make that sort of cadence until you get to the next program, and it takes you through to the next program. We have, of course, added an extra layer of fun to the whole thing by having BOD Interactive, so that if you were a coach that just did a program once and then you kind of move on, then you have this opportunity to do BOD Interactive in between. And so it kind of takes, in some respects, it allows coaches to look at different ways to sell programs, or not sell programs in that way, and just sell interactive, or, you know, so it gives you lots of different opportunities. What I'm hearing from most coaches is that they're choosing their poison, as it were, and saying, well, actually, I'm a coach that runs programs, and that's how I'm going to run, and I'm not going to focus on BOD Interactive. There are some coaches, certainly some of the US ones that I've been speaking to, who are really happy. They love how BOD Interactive works for them and their types of clients. And I think it really also depends on your type of the client base you have as well. Some of them really love the group exercise BOD wall type thing, and so it really suits them. So horses for courses, right? But it just gives you another opportunity. So back to the calendar piece. You should have the links, and there's certainly, or if even better, printed out like a 12 months of calendar. And what I've worked, I don't give this sort of background thing, but I think most of you know me. I've worked in marketing of types for, showing my age, like 27 years or something. And so one of the things that is really important is being super organized and planning a whole year out. And then I worked for big companies like QVC, where I really cut my teeth in this world of planning a whole year. And when I was a fitness buyer for QVC in 1997, I had to plan my whole year in November, and I had to present that to the board. And that didn't mean I knew everything that was going to happen, but I knew that I had to hit certain milestones, and I had to launch certain products, and I had also certain repeated products that I had brought from the year before that I'd launched, and I was now having a regular cadence of selling. And so this whole kind of understanding of how a annual calendar works was kind of indoctrinated into you, because that's how you work. And especially in that environment, because we're broadcasting on TV, and you have to be super I suppose organized, because you have all these studio time and all this other stuff that you have to build into this, and flying people over and these kinds. So that's where this sort of background came from. And I've sort of developed this over time, and I think it's really useful when you bring that into the coaching environment. And you can just, like I say with everyone's job, there's bits of your job that you can bring to what you do in coaching, and I think this is a really important part you can bring. So the first thing I suggest when you have these 12 months in front of you on this A4 is to have a few different colored pens. And you may find that you write, do a rough draft now, and then you reprint the whole thing and do it in best, because lots of people like to go through the whole colors thing and make it pretty and stuff. First thing I suggest you do is sort of have them all out on the floor in front of you as you get really serious with this, and put in the first thing all the important dates to you personally. Ignore everything about Beachbody. What are important dates to you personally? Sometimes it might be an important birthday to you, or it might just be your birthday. It might be a child's birthday. There's going to be all these different things, wedding anniversaries. There's going to be lots of different aspects of things that you're focused on around that time period. And there'll be things, because we're not just looking at this reverse engineering from a launch perspective, but we're also looking at reverse engineering your marketing for the aspects of those particular important dates. How are you going to build up? If it's let's say it was your 40th birthday and you were doing I'm going to be incredibly fit, or I've got a mission to do something by the time I'm 40, then you need to go back on how many weeks it's going to take you to achieve that goal, so that you hit it. You want to hit it on your 40th birthday, and that becomes a thing. So you're actually going to market towards that, for instance. So you mark all of those up, and you start to think as well, are there things around those dates that are going to be important milestones that you do want to hit? And you start to, you can start to build out some ideas around that, because this is going to create this really strong marketing calendar. Because what I want to get to a point really is that as you are, everyone's busy, right? And as you look at this and you look at the months ahead and you're trying to plan what you're going to say on your Insta or TikTok, wherever it is you're going to, whichever way you're marketing, not to have to really rack your brains on different days for different ideas. You want it to become like, actually, I'm planning backwards for this. So I'm going to post about this on this day. And it's like 6 weeks until I start, before I have to hit this particular milestone, I'm going to start talking about why I'm doing this and building up to it. So what you're trying to do is reverse engineer your marketing so that then you start to build out your marketing calendar, and you might do that closer to the time, like the actual detail of that, but you are starting to think about it now, because as you're wandering around, I don't know, Tesco or whatever it is, and you're having these inspirational ideas about things, but it's much better if you had a basic plan in front of you already, because as you're wandering around and just daily life is getting in the way and these ideas are coming to you, you can go back to your calendar and go, actually, I'm going to put that in there, and you can look and find some fun ideas. So the cat's joined me, so if the cat gets in the way, sorry. So that's that. So first of all, important dates to you. Next off is, we start with event dates for Beachbody, and it might, but also when I think about important dates to you, just make sure you put your holidays and things like that in. So if you're, Menina, she disappears off to Finland for like ever in the summer, so she needs to mark that in the calendar, because she knows that it's going to be harder to do certain things in that time period. So she needs to reverse engineer that holiday. So there are things like that you need to start thinking about. So plan those in advance. And so you can then start to plan the time for those in advance. Yeah. So then you get to the Beachbody events piece. So we know at Beachbody, there are a number of events that are really important to us. First of all, the most basic one is the Super Weekends. So we know that the first Super Weekend is now 5th of January, I think I said. It's the first Saturday and Sunday. Now, I am saying to everyone who I speak to, and I'll be doing something bigger in the group about this, maybe tomorrow. I'm saying to everyone who I've been speaking to, make this first Super Weekend event in January a business building event for you. Don't go headlong into the usual kind of customers and groups and that. Make it about how you build your business, and that's going to be a really good time to frame what you're doing for the rest of the year and bring people in and get people into the business that way. Apart from, notwithstanding that it's a funny old time anyway, but also that first weekend of January, people are just getting their heads back on from the break. And so trying to get people together and all those kind of things, it's a little bit harder. And so it's easier to think about this focus and have a really strong focus around business building for that particular event. You know that there is another Super Weekend in March. These dates are all in the FAQ, and that's your homework. We have another one normally just after Summit. Now for Summit, we'll talk about Summit in a minute, but for Super Weekends after Summit, I'm never a big fan of the UK Super Weekends after Summit, because apart from anything else, if those who have gone to Summit are knackered and you've just spent a week away from your family, and explaining to your family that you're now running a Super Weekend is going to go down like a lead balloon. And the whole reason you're doing this is for your family. So the fact that you're then taking all this time out doesn't necessarily motivate them to be super supportive. So it also comes at the very beginning of the school holidays normally for lots of us. So it becomes even harder to get people together. So again, the Super Weekend piece for post-Summit should really be about reiterating to the people that didn't make it to Summit and maybe didn't see the live feed, what is going on in the business and how you're going to take the business forward over the summer. So you're sort of driving, again, a business building behavior. Of course, the March Super Weekend and the November Super Weekend, they are really good customer focused periods. So first of all, Super Weekends. Then you've got the actual Beachbody holidays. So some of you may be going to Punta Cana, yay, and of course, depending on where you are in the business, there will be other trips. So we've got some people going to the New Leader Conference, hopefully in January. We've got Punta Cana, of course. We've got the various Success Club, so elite trips. For top 10s and things. This year, actually, we have this year coming, we actually have to have 2 because we have to catch up on ones that we missed. And then, so yeah, that's something that you should have in your vision anyway. And then you've got Summit, of course. And so that's something you've got to plan and reverse engineer for. And then one of the things, again, about all of those is, as you put them into your calendar, is reverse engineering into how you talk about them. So, the Mexico trip, for instance, is a really good example of something you might start talking about some weeks before, because you're going to you might be plotting about what you're going to wear, and then or what the excitement around it, or the crappy weather we're having here, and the fact that it's going to be really nice there, and there's all of that kind of excitement, and there's going to be thoughts of, if you've been on that trip before, like what it's like, and some of your memories are going to come back up and on your Facebook and things. So all of those things are, again, it's a time to start to build out those ideas, so that it's not like really hard and a struggle to think, I've got to think of a new idea today, because you already have that idea built in, because you wrote it on your calendar that you're going to lead in with like a 4-week or whatever it is, reverse engineer into that trip. Of course, that whole trip, you're going to have very easy content of you being in the sun and drinking margaritas. So that's really easy. And then you've got the whole thing of coming back to like the grim reality. But also, I always find things like, the coming back off long distance flights, long haul flights, and talking about the shake, because the first thing I always reach for when I come off a long flight is my shake. I always feel much better for it. So I have, that there's habits that you have. So they're all kind of ideas you want to start building in. So as you can, it's a common theme. You can see the process here is build out some basic ideas, and then as you get closer, you're going to start to build, really put meat on the bones of those ideas. Same goes for, sorry, Shana. Sure.
Just do we know if there's going to be anything currently happening for Super Weekend, like live stuff?
So I'll tell you in a minute about that, but yes, you'll be excited.
Okay.
So we've got, I'll do Summit first and leadership. So we have Summit for, which is going to be epic, and it's going to be in St. Louis, and the team have actually just been out there. They just got back, our events team, and they've just been planning everything. And I think it's like going to be just so wild to have everyone back in one massive stadium. Everyone says St. Louis is the most amazing conference city, like in terms of, it's nice weather, everything's close to each other. It's a really nice, it's like the base of the Mississippi or something like that as well. Quite mad. Anyway, that's like a great city. We're going to do the workout under the arch. If anyone's seen like what the arch is like, that's good. Like we've had to negotiate. That was one of the reasons we didn't go to that city before, actually, because they wouldn't give us the arch, and then they came back to us and said they'd give it to us, but we'd already hooked up with Indianapolis by then. So they gave us the arch for this trip. So that's going to be really great super workout videos and things there. So of course, you've got all the stuff going on there. You're going to, once again, you reverse engineer into it. You're going to have all the excitement of it. And you've got the piece coming back out of it. I will say, for those of you who are going to Summit, just make sure that you have, when you're booking your flight home, try, if you can give yourself enough time to spend, to get an afternoon flight home. Normally, Danielle Natoni and a couple of other coaches do an amazing Sunday review of what happened at Summit, and it's well worth taking the time to do that. I'm normally so exhausted from the Saturday night piece that I never make it to that, but everyone says it's amazing. Yes, Nina.
I did that when I went to Summit, and I think it was the best session of the whole weekend. It was really, really good. Yes,
everyone says it's really, really good, but they did have to build off all the content we gave them in the first place. So, then we've got, for those of you who are grappling towards 5-star, then we have the leadership event. And some of, we actually, it doesn't matter, you don't have to be 5-star to get to leadership, because you can be invited to leadership in Scottsdale, Arizona by your upline as a guest. And so, I think some of you know that happened with Izzy Bradshaw. She was invited by her upline a couple of times, and then, sorry, my cat's just being really annoying. She went, and then she actually once she was there, she was like, right, I'm all in on this. I am going to commit to being at this in real life. And then she couldn't, because we cancelled the whole thing. But this year it's back on, and it's really exciting. It's a great, that's a really great event to be at. So something to focus on, and definitely something to try and convince your upline to invite you to as a thing to do in October. Okay, so there is a secret that we will talk about on this call, that Laura will announce into the group and into our 411 comms and other things over the next week. I think there's a save a date coming up. So we are going to do a very small, I would say, let's say boutique event on March the 5th in London. And we have booked out an event space in the British Library for the afternoon for only 100 coaches or preferred customers potentially. And there will be a whole thing, we'll talk about how you get to go there and to get tickets for it. And it's going to have, now, Laura has, I think, I'm not going to say the name of the speaker because we haven't signed the contract yet, but Laura's been negotiating with this guy who actually Izzy Bradshaw's team told us about. Like they've done some work with him, and he's epic by all accounts. So we're like really excited if we can get, if he signs the contract, that's gonna be really good. So we're gonna have this amazing speaker. Actually, we're having a couple of different speakers, and then we're doing like a sort of drinks mixer afterwards, very sort of quick. And then the aim is that you can then go off and do some stuff in London with your teams and have some fun, and do some team dinners and stuff. We will be immediately jumping on a train because we're going to do the same thing in Paris the next day. So that is exciting. That is, I haven't told anyone about that just yet. And so keep the date in your mind because I would expect all of you to be able to get to that, hopefully. Even
I mean, it's just a 5-minute taxi journey for me, 2 weeks before we go to Punta Cana. But okay, I'll put that on my vision board.
It's perfect timing. You'll be ready for a trip by then. Right, so that's that. So keep that in mind. That's going to be, it is good. It's really good. It's going to be what you call, I think it's called Level Up Live, and it's going to be like, I think the lineup's going to be really great. So okay, that's all the Beachbody events. Then we've got the Beachbody product program launches. Now, as I said at the beginning, each of those, like, so you can put that on your calendar. That's great. You've got, obviously you have job one. We have been quite secret squirrel as a company about the launches and coming up and where they're coming. But from our history, when normally product launches happen. So normally there's one sort of in spring, sort of April time, and there's normally one around summit time for sure, and there's another one. Now we will give you the dates. Now there's it's going out in Diamond Insider first, I think, and I've just asked them when that's actually going to go out, and then that'll get filtered out to the rest of the business. But we will give you the firmed up dates for the new programs in the next, I believe it's the next couple of weeks actually. So there'll be they might not have every single thing, but it will be like a rough idea. You don't get that email, Shona? Okay, so ask Laura just to check on that for you. I think is best. And she can maybe find out where you are in the database. So with those launches, as soon as you get the dates, it's the same thing. Think about, like with job one, it's really easy. You know that you're going to start your groups at the beginning. I assume you're starting your groups at the beginning of January, and you've probably got a date in mind. What I say to people is, and I assume you've all been starting doing job one, and you're kind of into it, and you've figured out what it's working and how it works for you. For job one, what I look at is, okay, take the program, and then the first day you do that program, and every month then, when you're going to start the next group for that program. So are you going to have a group in January, a group in February, a group in March, or are you doing it every 2 weeks? Are you starting a new group? How are you running your groups for that? Everyone has their different idea of how they start people. Now I often think a 4-week cadence of reverse engineering into an individual launch date for a challenge group is a really good way, because it gives you time to build people up and get them excited, and then they have the FOMO when they miss out, like the ones that didn't get on missed out, and then you can start the whole process again for a month. So that might be that, if you reverse engineer from the day one, like the first day of a month, then that means that the month prior to that, you've got the first week backwards is where you've got everyone in your group already. It's everyone's in the group and they're ready and you're excited, and you've already done the program or lots of it. So you already are prepping them and telling them what they need to do and getting their food lists and all those kinds of things. The week before that, is going to be the bit where you have them all purchased and set up, and if they've got any extra kit coming and things like that, then that's going to have arrived already, and so you've got to get them into the cadence. The week before that is where you might just be doing the countdown to the ordering process, and the week before that might just be the teasers. So everyone's got their own way of doing that. Sometimes people squeeze that into a 2-week window. Sometimes they, it's like, okay, I won't teach you how to sell kegs on that piece. It's like it's that everyone has their own individual bit, but that idea of reverse engineering every single group in that way and then marking it on your calendar so that in that color, that job one group. And it's like, I call them like cohorts. Like cohort 1 is January, cohort 2 is February, if that's where you're doing it monthly. And so now you reverse engineer into every single cohort. But of course, that as people finish the program, you may be able to flip them into your next cohort because they want to do another round, or you want to flip them into something else because they are they're up for doing a different program altogether. So you have to build that into the marketing plan as well. But that gets into the detail a bit closer to the time, right? So now you are done with job 1, and you should be able to project that you could keep job 1 running the whole year if you wanted to. So you plan those out the whole year. As you get into the dates for the next launch, then we're going to obviously be much more specific with the dates of each piece, and you can start to plot those into your calendar and do exactly the same thing of the activity you do in the run up to each launch that way. Now, I can tell you that the UK won't have a new nutritional launch next year because we have regulatory delays and things like that. So that even if they, I just can't see us getting anything out of regulatory with all the delays. But we obviously will be on the back of all the fitness launches as usual. So that gives you all of the program and into your challenge groups or your boy groups launches, and you should now start to see that your calendar becomes very multicolored and quite overwhelming, actually. So, which is why you kind of have to this is where you kind of step away from the calendar. Once you've got it neat and how you want it to look for right now, you kind of need to step away from it and let it sink in all the different things that you've got on that calendar, and how you want to run each of those pieces. And now you can start to use, might be your regular diary, your regular marketing diary, and you might start to focus in on some of the stuff that's current, and write some ideas down about things you're going to do around the pertinent dates, the holidays, the product launches. Now you can also, and I think this is something that a few coaches have bought. There's a book on Amazon which has all of the marketing, these sort of marketing days, like Fitness Day and World Mental Health Day, and whatever it is. There's like a day literally for everything, right? And then sometimes there's an American version of it as well. I'm sure it's Izzy gave me the link once. I'll try and get her to give me the link again and see if it's there, but I'll send that. I'll put it back into the group. I'll ask her to send it me. Anyway, there is sorry, go on. Did you say something? No. Okay. So you can use that to add in even more bulk into your ideas for what you're going to talk about on Insta and those kinds of things as well. I would say that as you're building out your calendars as well, the thing I always say to everyone is make sure that you're building out not just talk about all the fitness stuff, but you've built in really good nutritional ideas into each of those events that you're reverse engineering into. Because I often have this thing where people go, oh, could you look at my Instagram? And it's just like them working out the whole time, and there's we have all of those pillars. We have the Beachbody work says we work off the pillars of fitness and nutrition, and nutrition has and support, but we also have nutrition broken down into the two sides of the dense nutrition in terms of Shakeology, the sports nutrition in terms of the Energize and Recover, but also the nutrition plus style content that we have, and the idea and the meal ideas and recipe ideas. So it's really important to us that we portray all of those, because we know that our competitors in this landscape don't offer all those pillars, and that's the one area where they let themselves down. And we know that we get the best results, and there's actually a funny story that John Congdon, the co-founder of Beachbody, told me of, where a famous fitness brand that owns a bike were complaining to him. The owner of the company was complaining to him that they had this really great community, but they didn't get great results, and it's because they didn't have nutrition. And it was like, obviously it was super obvious to us, but not super obvious to them. I don't think that we would have told them. So, but that is it's such a key part to everything we do. And you know how it is, they say great abs made in the kitchen, all that, but it's amazing how many times we don't see that reflected in the overall marketing plans that you create when you're looking at stuff for yourselves. And to that end, sorry, go on, Tona.
Yeah, so I did some great training with Melanie Mitro about the 4 pillars of your own business, like the 4 pillars that describe you. So for example, like for me, it's binge eating, stay at home mum, like personal trainer, and to kind of rotate your posts around that. But I was thinking, rather than go through every single national day, you get a national day for everything.
Yeah.
And maybe kind of pick your national days in with your 4 pillars of what you're building your business on, was just a thought, rather
I think it's wise.
Sharing every single thing that doesn't really have any relevance to you.
I think the days need to have meaning to you, or it's like, well, they either need to have deep meaning for you, and so you can really talk about them with passion, or there's such a stupid day that you just want to take the mickey out of it, and so you can talk about it with passion because it's a stupid day and it makes it funny, and then it creates engagement just because people agree with you, and that's one of those things. So you can basically take it 2 ways, can't you? Yeah, I totally agree. One thing on so actually Kevin Wright told me this about how he does, like, they have some really good food stuff on there that they do on their feed, and it's because he bought one of those little tripods in the kit and put it in the kitchen of their house. So whenever he goes into the kitchen to make anything, he puts his phone in tripod and just films it. And so no matter what, there's always content that they can fall back on. So it doesn't matter if it's a sandwich or it's a salad or it's a really fancy dinner. It's just content that's created. But if the whole thing was the nudge to have the tripod. So put tripod in, press record, make something, finish editing it later, whatever. But that just means that you've always got some content to fall back on. Now, hopefully, I'll kind of finish up with this kind of idea. As of course, one of the things that Mel Mitro is a teacher by trade, and before she became a coach. And there's the thing I noticed that lots of teachers are great coaches, and there's a reason is that teachers tend not to reinvent the wheel. They rinse and repeat, but they don't reinvent the wheel. And my sister's she's one of my sisters is a teacher in Manchester, and to give you an example, her first year as a newly qualified teacher was like hell. She had to take 2 weeks to fix the classroom up, and then every night she was working all hours trying to catch up with all like what the strategy would be for the next day, and like reviewing the day that she just had. And it's hard work, but she would put all of those things each week into a big folder, and that would be like term 1, week 1 in the folder, done. And so when she became in her second year as a class teacher, she was in primary school, so she was able to pull out her first week's lesson plan from the previous year, and she just rinsed and repeated. She knew the class, and she just changed a few things. She did that particular class schedule, and then she made more notes. She effectively rinsed it and made notes about how she could improve it or what she needed to change around. And then she put the folder back and she pulled out week 2 and she did the same thing. And then of course, in her third year, like having been, this is like used to, I think the year before she was like, in class the week before doing all the fixing up the classroom, and then still had loads of work to do. She was still working fairly late. Third year, she comes in to school the day before school starts, like takes a look at her classroom, goes and gets a coffee in the staff room, and then goes home, and she basically had nailed the whole lesson plan. And that's how I think you have to treat your groups as well. And when you're repeating, you should just be able to hold all the content in those files, like day 1, day 2, and be able to go through and just rinse and repeat the same content. So you're not reinventing the wheel. So it should make it super easy for you. And it should also make it really shareable for if you're in a team and you've got someone who's helping run the group, it should be something that you can then share really easily off a Dropbox folder or something, so that those groups start to run themselves. That means that you hopefully have less work. And so that you can see why being a teacher has that advantage, because that's kind of that organizational structure of a good teacher is built into, it's like ingrained in your training. But it's actually no different to running a really effective challenge group. But the other thing that teachers do, which is really clever, is that they prepare people ahead of their classes. You know, they get you to think about something before the class starts. And so in that regard, you can do the same thing. So you know that you've got a class starting on you know, whatever day it is. Let's say you're going to do the first job one with your team is going to be the 1st of January, for instance. You could do a video on the night before, which is this is what I'm going to prepare you for, and this is how the week's going to go, and this is what you need to be eating, and make sure this is the clothes you've got to have ready for at the end of your bed. And you can start to say, look, the first day feels hard. The second day, I had a few twinges. Make sure you do your rolling. The third day, you can talk about a move that you have to just be careful, like don't fall on your arm too hard, or just be careful with your wrists, or be careful with the way you step back on this. So you're actually preparing people, and it feels like it gives them this confidence, right? And so those are the things that you should start to think about as you're also, so when you're getting to the minutiae of reverse engineering into your groups, think about those things that give people confidence and preparation for going into going into the journey with you. It's exactly the same way, you know, if you get on anyone remember getting on an aeroplane, they prepare you really well for what's ahead, and it should be like, and so you feel that confidence, or you should feel that confidence that you're in good hands, and that's what you need to be feeling like you're creating. So by doing using those same skills. So that's essentially the whole thing. There is now quite a lot of homework for you, because you have to kind of go and do this and probably print it out and like another 3 times with like different, testing different colors and how it works. But I would say put it down, the first thing, and let it just sit, and then let it mellow on you and how you want to do these, and have a chat with each other maybe, but just let it all flow through you, because you've got a little bit of time to figure this out. But it is really good now. I suggest once you've once you've got your sort of first draft, if you can put them all on your wall, if you're capable to like have just everything on the wall in front of you, like it means that you can just start to add little notes here and there. You might find ideas for something. Someone else has done something for around a birthday, and it's like, or you've seen another coach do something, like actually that could work for me. I could tweak that and do that this way. So you actually go straight to your wall and you just put it on the wall straight away. It's not forgotten. It's like there. So those ideas start to flow, and it starts to also give you a confidence, because there's nothing worse than waking up in the morning and thinking, God, I've got to post something and I really have no inspiration, or I actually feel like I'm tired for a minute and I need to just like, I can't be inspired by today or whatever. So there's sometimes, and life gets in the way sometimes. So when you look at that wall, it gives you a confidence of knowing that you've always got something to post. You've always got an idea or inspiration, and you can immediately not have to worry or think, I've got to drag something out for a story or a reel today. And so it makes it simple and really easy. Now, the cool thing is, if you do this really well, you should be able to take exactly the same amount of work that you did this on this calendar and repeat it into next year. And you can either do that by just printing out January 2023 and marking up January 2023 as soon as you've finished January 2022. So you're kind of always now in a rolling year, and you're learning, and because then the memories of January and the lessons are exactly there, right? You remember what you did or did or didn't do. Did I start my group a little too early? Were people ready? Was like, should I have started it the week after the schools went back? Or, all of those little things are become important. So now you can start to put, that rinse and repeat process into the following years, and you become more efficient. And then you're not like listening to me for 40 minutes talking about the same things, because you've already learned it, and then you can kind of teach that in. And that is it, essentially. That's how it works. If you have any questions, shout, wave, release yourself from mute.
Just checking. Obviously, I know you can't say too much on product, but
yes,
Autumn's Gut Health one is coming out in March, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
We haven't. That's the one where the date isn't completely fixed.
Okay.
For some reason, I can't remember why, but that's one where the date isn't completely fixed. But that's going to be, for us, it'll be a fitness program, and I don't really know. There's something extra in the US, but I'm not even sure about Canada. But I can't understand exactly what everything is for us yet on that. Apart from, it's definitely going to have the fitness piece, and actually looks like it's quite a good workout, to be honest. I think like, it's going to be a really nice lead on from job one in terms of how it's different.
So can we not do the nutrition at all?
There will be a different nutrition piece, as in we can't, like, they will have something very specific, but we will not have that through regulatory.
Right, like the product. Okay, but we can still do like the.
Oh yeah, the whole thing. It doesn't really and honestly, it's one of those things. It like, for us, they do these things, and yeah, they're nice add-ons, but it doesn't rely on that for us to make it successful. It's a really great program because it's exclusion diet, really. It just happens to have some additional pieces of nutrition, but they're not the be all and end all for us. And our focus really must be here on building the confidence in Shakeology, especially.
Yeah.
That's I think that you can add too many things sometimes to we're still a new market, remember, and that's where so there's so much opportunity in this market, but we are this market now we're going into 2017, so fifth year as we go through next year. But that actually in their direct selling terms is really fledgling, and it's the time when people people really get it. You see the people who really get it, and they're really consistent, and but they also now have really learned who it is that's their kind of people. And I think everyone's been through that stage of wondering who their people are and scrapping that and going, no, they're different people. But you have a much better idea of your people, and so that's why you start to see quite a lot of growth in markets around the 5th year stage in direct selling, because it takes that long for the confidence within the market to kind of grow and the brand to establish.
Do we have an update on if we're going to get the bike in the UK?
Oh, the bike. Well, I have one. I don't know what takes me so long.
Because they did say, I remember when it was launched, they said possibly January for the UK.
I can tell you it's not going to be January, because we are so some of you will know from US coaches that it's like, I would say right now, you don't want the bike because it's amazing. I've got it and you are all welcome. I've invited the Diamonds so far to come to the office, but I will extend that to more people as we go. Menina, you still meant to be coming and seeing it. There's no excuse for you either. You're like up the road. So actually Izzy's team came in the other day. We had Vicky Hall come before that, and they all come and try the bike. You can come and look at it with a view that there will be the ability to sell it to Canadians and Americans. Obviously Americans right now and Canadians at some point they're just figuring out the final details on that. I want to get the bike experience in terms of delivery and the payment experience to be right when it comes here. And so what you've got to imagine is you've got quite a few new things. First of all, you've got a 60-odd kilo bike to deliver and to put together. And the US, they're using a white glove system. That might not be right for our market. I'm not entirely sure that I want to try and get a white glove delivery up all the way to, I like Megan and Andrew up at in Inverness. Like, that's going to be really expensive and painful for all of us to try and get a delivery driver to go all that way with a 60-kilo bike and put it together. So there are different things like that we have to figure out how to do that. And frankly, there are some people who just won't want their bike built because they're quite capable of building it themselves. I built mine on my own and probably should have done with some help, to be honest. It was really heavy, but it works. It was actually really easy to put together. So there is, I want to get that bit right for our market, and we need to learn a little bit more from how the US and the Canadians are experiencing their deliveries. There also is the payment system. As you know, it's a multi-pay. It's like buying it on hire purchase, essentially, and that's something we've never really done before with the coach network. But I want to see how that pans out to make sure that the experience is right. Because remember that you're going to sell this to people, and it's whatever. Let's say it's $1,300 bike. and people are going to pay that over a number of years, you're going to get your commission the following month. But if that person defaults, then we need to make sure the experience is really good and doesn't hurt your reputation or our reputation. And so we want to make sure that we find the right partner for that as well, because then the partner we have in the US, we can't use them in the UK because they don't operate in the UK in the same way. So there are lots of issues like that we want to make sure we get absolutely right. There's the repair service. So if something goes wrong, I don't want to have to go and pick up a 63-kilo bike. I want to send someone to it. I actually, funnily enough, there is a coach whose husband in the UK, whose husband that's his job. He does it for Watt Bike and Spin and other people like that. So we actually have had some meaningful conversations around what we could do with that. So all of those little things we need to get 100% right, because when you're dealing with 1,300 quid's worth of bike, none of us want this to be like a bad experience for the person on the receiving. We want them to really enjoy the receiving of the bike and also the use of the bike. So I'm just holding fire a little bit because I want to make sure that we have a really nice experience on it, not a rush to get it out in January. And because I could, but yeah, I mean, we've got there's electrical certification and things like that we need to finish off with those regs and regulatory stuff. Of course, the transformer that needs to be changed over. But yeah, you could rush it through, but honestly, it's like one of those things, we just need to get that 100% right, because the blowback on getting it wrong could be horrible. So that's, yes, we will have it, but in the meantime, you know, obviously we've got one in the office. I had it shipped over at great expense for you to come and play with, and it's really good. It's a lot of fun. You actually, if you saw, I'm not sure if you see Megan and Andrew Sunday, they bought just a cheapish bike. Andrew was talking to me about it because they just wanted to try the spinning classes themselves on the so he attached an iPad to a basic bike and have been playing around with that on their Instagram and I think today. So you know, there's sort of hacks at the moment. I think we're at least 6 months away, to be honest, because there's a lot of stuff to do to get that over and get it right.
A few of us have got bikes and have been sharing on body. Menina and Juliet got bikes.
I really like
I've got a bike as well, so we have
The spinning classes they're great, I think, and I love the Chop One spinning class because they're so quick, aren't they? I just wish now, because I was kind of like counting on the January bike thing, so I bought this bike for the cheapest one I could find. So it's definitely more than 60 kilos. I reckon it's 2,000 when I cycle. It's quite heavy, but you know, it's fine. It makes me stronger while I wait.
Yeah. So yeah, so apology. It is, but yeah, come and see it when you can. If you're in the area or you're coming, like, of course that extends to anyone. Give us a shout, and we can make some time. And you know, you can, my calendar is also always open on the Business Builders and that announcements tab. You can click on that link and message me for either Zoom time or one-to-one time. We were meant to get out on the road again, and then kind of government kind of ruined everything. So we are hopefully in the new year, we'll get back on the road and be able to come and do some more visits and things as well. But every time we say that, then something bad happens. So I'm not going to, I may just stop saying it. But in the meantime, yeah, you are allowed to come to offices and things, so for important meetings. So
okay, right, I'm going to stop recording.